using the chat button or muting yourself and jumping in with a question if that's possible as well. We're best to monitor that and get your question answered during the session. So, we will be recording the session. So, anything you asked will be recorded, and we do post these later for our STEMx members to review and benefit from the webinars as well. So, keep it nice and clean for us if you could. And then, so who's on our webinar today? As you may have noticed from the introduction, we have 3 speakers who were on our invitation to this, but we added one more as well. So we have Sheila Boyington, who is the co-founder and president of Think Media, along with Dane Boyington, who is also the other founder of Think Media, and he is the chief technical officer there as well, for being an e-learning development and design company. It's developed a number of tools that have been used nationally, including Learning Blade, which we'll be talking to you today about. Learning Blade has been implemented statewide with Tennessee in partnership with our STEMx partner there, the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network, which is run by the director, Wes Hall, who is joining us, and we'll talk a little bit about the implementation there. And then we have Brendy Stoker, let me know if I'm saying that wrong, who will be talking a little bit about how she has been engaged in this as well. So really happy to have 4 folks on the line who can talk about how it's been used and developed in different ways. And so with that, why don't I start by handing this over to Wes, who will talk a little bit about how it's been within Tennessee.
Thanks, Mike, and hello, everyone. Excited to join all our STEMx friends from across the country. First of all, my apologies for having to have no video and just use audio for now. We're still dealing with a bit of a Comcast outage here in Nashville, so working on the T in STEM today for sure, but I'm sure that'll be fixed very soon. So most have been exposed to the work that we're doing in Tennessee already. The Tennessee STEM Innovation Network is structured much like many networks across the country. We are working to expand the teaching and learning of STEM education across our state. Our goal is no matter where you are in Tennessee, you're able to access quality STEM resources and materials to have in the classroom to really expose students to STEM careers for the future. We want our state to be a leader and be future ready. So that's the vision that we have for our state as we're moving forward. TSIN is also managed by Battelle, much like STEMx and the Ohio STEM Learning Network. And if you see from the map of how we're structured across the state, we're set up much like Ohio is. We use hubs in schools, 7 regional STEM innovation hubs, which is a mechanism to encourage local innovation in our schools. And when they develop things at the school level, they share it with our hubs. And then our network really pulls together to share best practices across our state. So no matter where you are, you have access to quality STEM resources, and we're truly advocating for STEM for all. So as we say, well, funding cycles of having grants and looking for sustainability, we work with the state legislature a bit on really setting the vision for STEM in the state moving forward. So I want to talk a little bit about the product we're talking about today and the tool, Learning Blade, and we'll look at that in Tennessee. So research shows, and we know from the work that we're doing in our classrooms, that students start making decisions about STEM careers as early as elementary school, but certainly the sweet spot is in the middle school grades. And so we wanted to develop some kind of curriculum and a tool where we could reach students where they were in school at that point in life and help them gain exposure to the possibilities of careers that are actually in our state, especially in careers that are growing in our state where the jobs are going to be in the future. And so as we start to explore the market, we had an existing relationship through Battelle with Learning Blade. Battelle piloted the product for a bit, validated that it's actually a very effective STEM supplemental tool in some schools, and so we decided to pilot that across our state in the first year. And so as we looked at Learning Blade, we thought that it really met the benchmark for wanting to raise interest and exposure for students in middle school. A very aspect of this is that, again, no matter where you are in the state, you can access it because it's got an online platform. So it became part of Tennessee's rural strategy for reaching schools across our state. Much like you guys, we have some great urban areas, but a lot of disconnected rural school districts that are geographically isolated. And so this was a very big selling point, that the legislature really grasped very quickly. This could be a tool that could be a game changer for districts across our state, no location. The Learning Blade sharpens STEM skills. It strengthens student success in reading and obviously in STEM literacy. That's a big goal for our state and a huge gap in need. But second or thirdly, the reason we really liked it is that the missions and the way that it's constructed were fun for our students. And so it really grew students in an engaging way that made them want to study up on their STEM skills, but also gain exposure to future STEM careers. So about the funding, the state legislature gave us the money to host a pilot in year 1. That went tremendously well. And so in year 2, they gave us recurring funding to continue this forward for all schools in the state. So the way it's working right now, the legislature allocated funds to the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network and offer Learning Blade as a tool for free for all middle schools in our state. It's flexible. It can also be used in informal spaces such as science centers or after-school programs. So lots of people are able to connect to our network through this opportunity and this tool, and it's generating a lot of excitement across Tennessee. So what since we did the pilot? Well, in year 1 alone, over 400 schools took advantage of the opportunity to use Learning Blade. I don't know if you guys, but to reach 400 schools in a matter of 8 months is a tremendous task, and I don't know that there was another mechanism in which we would have reached that many schools had it not been for this tool. So that's a great engagement opportunity for us. Speaking, that's about 66 counties in the state. That's way more than 2/3. And really a sweet spot of this is that over 57,000 students completed a lesson in Learning Blade. That's a huge amount of engagement. But it really stood out to us in our pre and post surveys and research is that 70% of the students that participated in Learning Blade said that they learned about future STEM careers. A major goal of the network to raise awareness for future STEM careers and STEM in general, that hit home for us. Middle school research shows that that's the sweet spot. If 70% of those kids participating thought they learned about STEM careers, that's a green check mark for us. So we thought that was a great pilot. We shared that research back with the legislature, and they also agreed, and so they wanted to make sure that we had this tool in our toolkit as we move forward, and we're happy to have the state support. So it's really generating excitement across the state. The Department of Ed is studying how it's been used as an engagement strategy and how it might actually help with STEM literacy and reading scores in the state. So it's hitting on multiple apps in our state that we're truly excited to be the ones able to offer this across our state. And so with beleaguer any longer how our pilot and our second year has gone, but I want to hand it over to Sheila Boynton, who's really been in this and getting this out in the schools and doing the footwork for us. Just a tremendous partnership that's really come to evolve to be effective in our state. So Sheila?
Thank you so much, Wes, and thank you so much, Mike and Rob, for setting up this webinar and giving us an opportunity to share a little bit about not what we're doing in Tennessee, but across the country, and why we are so passionate about what we're doing with Learning Blade. As Wes mentioned earlier, I think, we talked about this, the fact that students don't know about careers is a really missing component, quite frankly, in a lot of STEM work across the country. That was one of our big goals, was to lead with Learning Blade, and that middle school, as Wes mentioned, is that sweet spot. In fact, this research from the University of Massachusetts, middle school is where 94% of kids are making those career decisions. And so that is vital that we continue to infuse this career awareness and sort of preparation in that grade level, and even before, to be honest, but really the middle school is critical. It's interesting that even most recently, this was a study that came out in May, that 42% of Americans said they would have considered STEM courses if they better understood the career path. And point to that need for career awareness. And, I don't think we need to sell anyone on the phone about this, but really, it's a need that we all need to be working on. So this is Learning Blade, and some of you, hi, we know you, and we're really excited to be with you again, and some of you might be new to Learning Blade, but Learning Blade is really a platform that was designed to encourage students to consider the STEM careers, be interested in them. And we designed it in sort of the context of missions, which are our lessons that allow students to have an opportunity to engage and be involved with material through an online game-based platform that we're going to give a chance to actually demo for you here in a few minutes. And the staff, for teachers, for staff, etc., we link this to all 50 state standards, the Common Core, and the NGSS. So we have a very robust system that actually does both, introduces kids to the careers, but also reinforces the standards, kind of a sort of win-win situation. And Design Learning is going to be a supplemental STEM system that supports the academics. So as I said, it is in a game-based platform, and we use the word game a little bit loosely, but it is designed to engage students through this. And the great part is, as Wes mentioned, you know, we could not scale to all, I think it's close to, now getting close to 500 schools across the state of Tennessee, but the system was not so easy for teachers to actually get into and use. Need a lot of special equipment, a lot of extra materials. If you have computers, et cetera, it's something that's available, and we can train teachers to use this in less than 2 hours. And quite frankly, a lot of our teachers get very little or no training because it is a very easy to implement system. We also designed it so that it would motivate minorities and girls, particularly, to explore these STEM fields. Women are 50% of the workforce, but we're only 24% of the STEM workforce. So it's vital that we continue to engage our girls. And one thing about girls is we like career paths where we're helping people. And a lot of times what we're doing with STEM is wonderful, but it is much more, sort of robotic. If you think about it, we're not really contextualizing it for students to show how those different kinds of activities, like coding or building or whatever, really relates to a society problem. And so that is really one of the things that we did. In fact, the state superintendent of Arkansas the other day, I should not even say it's girls, it's also millennials. Millennials want to have an impact in their society, and showing them how these careers do that is vital, and that's one of the key components to life. We also made it so it doesn't have to sit just in the science classroom. So it's a bit different than what you might think of in traditional STEM tools, because we have English and we have social studies lessons that actually can be integrated across the cross-curricular. It makes it very easy to implement in the whole school and involve other teachers in our STEM sort of conversation. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have a way to analyze student skills against the academic standards. Dan's going to show you a little piece of that. And it is based on the middle school standards. Wes talked about the effectiveness for rural communities, which cannot be undersold. 100 hours of curriculum that is in the system. So we have different missions, looking at a broad range of careers and technologies, and if you're familiar with the Department of Education, CTE career clusters, we look at a wide range of those that relate to STEM, so biomedical, construction, medicine, energy, transportation, advanced manufacturing. We have a couple of missions focused on manufacturing and a couple that are focused on IT. And our newest mission, which is called Hackatech, which is really focused on computer science, very much a growing thing, and very exciting to be involved in this. So we are organized, and this is one of the 12 missions, is to actually get kids to learn what we call tools and teammates. So our tools are STEM technologies, and our teammates are STEM careers. And the way the students earn the tools and teammates is by completing these mini academic lessons. So if you each of our tool and team has about 4 different lessons that are tied to English, social studies, and math. Each are bite-sized chunks, about 15 long, so they're very easy for people to use and complete in a short amount of time. And as they complete these, they earn each of these pieces. Now, really, again, our number one goal is to expose kids to a lot of different types of technologies and careers so that we get excited about it. And at the same token, we also show them how what their social studies relates to career out there, relates to something to do later in their life. That is very much an important piece of trying to do with learning play. As Michael mentioned earlier, Dean and I, we own this company. We've had it for 20 years. Thinking Media is based here in Tennessee, coincidentally in Chattanooga. We were the creators of the ACT Work Keys. If you're familiar with the career readiness movement across the country, we created a national curriculum for that called Key Train and Study 101, which had 28 state contracts, and 15% of all high schools had our curriculum. I'm going to do this to show you that we have experience in sort of working across states and working to effectively deliver a solution and make it effective not only in just scaling it, but making sure that we are continuing to track the results of it. And that's what Wes mentioned earlier, is something that we really found beneficial with our partnership with the TEL.
Given, the success you've had with the previous tools and expansion, do you also have a vision of learning aid, moving into and being, hopefully being adopted or used in a number of other states as well?
Oh, absolutely. That's every entrepreneur's dream. I think that's very much our goal, to scale across the country and to find the right states that are ready for this tool. I think Tennessee was just phenomenal. I know we live here, but I will say, we love our partnership with CSI, and the way we've been able to scale and work across the state has been nothing but. But I will say, I'm going to talk about it in a second. We launched in Arkansas just about 2 months ago, statewide as well, and in less than a month and a half, I think we have almost 250 schools signed up. So it's been cool what we're doing there. I will say, our TEL education partnership, TEL, they saw what we were doing, very excited about the work, and we partnered together on our first validation study, which showed that we're increasing the interest in STEM careers awareness as well. The validated result from the TEL and ACT, they also only list things that they have reviewed and will list as suggested resources. We are the only curriculum that's listed in their reports 2014, 15, and 16. And some great news from the Computer Science for All Summit last week that was held at the WOW. 200 sort of commitments around computer science that actually released at that summit last week included Learning Blade. So one of them was with our partners, the Tennessee STEM Network, and the work that they're doing across to reaching rural communities using Learning Blade as a piece of that. And our second one was our project in Arkansas, where Leonard has one of the leading efforts in computer science for all, and he has a great effort to put computer classes in every classroom. But about Learning Blade, the fact that, yes, we can teach them coding, but we know what they're supposed to do with it. Learning Blade is the perfect part of that. And we also then engaged with Tata Consultancy, collaborate on creating this new mission, which I talked about, which actually will be having a formal launch in Arkansas in October. So very exciting news on how Learning Blade is not only just sort of set, also connecting it to the computer science work that is going across the country, because it's not only teaching people skills, but also this is on the computer. So those kids in rural communities are actually getting an opportunity to use the computer to even curriculum. So pretty exciting stuff. And you talked about how we're scaling. So here's about how we're scaling across the country, as we mentioned. Tennessee statewide, Arkansas statewide now, 30-school pilot in Kentucky that's moving in that direction. We were also funded by the Department of Energy for all schools in Washington, D.C., all the D.C. public schools, 68 schools engaged with us there. That is also going very, very well. And we have a great quote from the Tennessee Department of Education here on the fact that we are delivering a tool, but also focusing on some of what we call the personalized learning opportunities, where students are having an opportunity to sort of drive what they want to study and what they want to do.
And as you've expanded, have you needed to make any adjustments to align with the different states' needs or standards? Absolutely.
So we started out, obviously, Common Core was the thing up 2.5 years ago. Obviously, we know how that played out. And so we actually revised our entire system to take into account all 50 states' different standards. So based on the state you're in, you can really select that, and Dane can show if we have time. you can actually see how Learning Blade aligns to all the 50 standards, and we actually produce some very robust reports we have always done for that allow you to see how students are, perform that. Now, one thing you can see here is the fact that, we have had a very great adoption in Tennessee. There's a little bit of what we have done. I won't go into a lot of details because I know we want to kind of get to a demo, but I did want to share with you that our first study was the validation hotel. Our second study, which we are releasing this fall, is going to continue that path, to continue to take not only the earlier results, which we were very pleased to duplicate those, but to add these 4 other points, which quite frankly just really make us very excited, because we are doubling the number of students now that are interested in becoming an engineer or scientist after using Learning Blade. We have 79% increase in students who recognize that math is helpful when solving interesting problems. And my favorite, I think I need a T-shirt with it, 60% increase in students saying what I learn in school will be useful later in life. Relevance, relevance, relevance. We continue to hear it, but we're seeing that we're impacting that. And so we didn't really even expect was the fact that we have a 56% increase in students who now say, I want to take a higher class when I get to high school. We're starting to see impact and adoption. A lot of states are developing courses around this. Alabama actually is doing a course in their 8th grade with the Huntsville City Schools that every student will be using Learning Blade. So just lots of great best practices happening across the country. We just appreciate it. So if there are any questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dane to let him take a little demo.
Actually, we can't even hear the question. I don't know if Rob will point out he might be getting over the But I want to show you just a little bit about what Learning Blade looks like, because it is a different way of presenting this concept of STEM.
Welcome to Learning Blade.
It does start with a little introduction.
You are a student on a mission.
I'll cut that short, but maybe you heard for a second the soundtrack, because there's a soundtrack that goes along with all these lessons, because one of the things we're doing with Learning Blade is not only building their awareness of these STEM careers, but we're also demonstrating how academic skills are used by these careers, especially the things you need to learn in middle school. And part of what we do is we do have the students read along with these lessons as they go forward. And it helps build their literacy, but we're using very rich text, and we're using very science-laden text and text that really describes these careers as something that students are practicing with as they go through this. So we have the 12 different missions that students work through and choose from. Teachers can actually control which missions the students have access to. But we also have both a full and express version or shortened version of each mission available also, for things like after-school programs where you want to get through things very quickly. And so then we have sort of a reduced or shortened version of the curriculum for that. But when you select one of the missions, each one of the missions starts out with a story. And I mentioned this story is what we use to attract the children who may not be thinking of themselves as scientists or engineers in the future, but we attract them through a storyline that presents how these careers actually affect people and communities. And this storyline starts off with you walking out at the beach and see something in the waves. It's a dolphin whose tails are tangled in ropes. You take the rope off the dolphin's tail, and we reiterate. And the introduction that I skipped at the beginning of explain the missions and earning tools or teammates, which are the careers and technologies. We reiterate that to the students again and tell them that the more questions there are going to be questions as they go through the lesson, and the more questions they answer, the higher your score will be. So there is the competitive aspect with the score the student has on each of the missions. And we outline a little bit of a story which tells how these different careers and technologies will be involved in solving a particular problem. So in this talks about calling for using a cell phone to call for help. The dolphin is also infected. The wound, but the first thing you need, what tool would you need first? You'll need a cell phone. Who with this cell phone? We can call a veterinarian because the dolphin has certain wounds that are infected. And what might a veterinarian use to treat those infected wounds? They might administer some antibiotics. So of familiarizing the student with different careers and technologies can help or people or communities. I'll get through the rest of this introduction of time at this point. But after the student completes this short introduction, I tell them they will have to select the appropriate careers and technologies that would apply in this particular case. And so the student would actually use the dashboard to operate the mission. And the dashboard has a running score at the bottom. It has progress bars on how they're doing, earning tools and teammates. And it has the list of tools and teammates they can select from the right-hand side. And you'll see how I've completed some, I've in progress others. Some of them are incorrect because there are some incorrect selections that were not indicated by the story student shows. And that's the gaming aspect because it makes them think about what they're selecting because they can actually lose points for selecting incorrect answers. The story, and I didn't go far enough in the story to actually show that, was that this is the story of Winter the dolphin. And this is a dolphin who lost a tail incident. And the whole point of this story is that you create a tail. So we're really working and what we're really emphasizing in this lesson is biomedical prosthetics, biomedical engineers, and machinists who would help create this tail in real life. Of course, we're working with the tail, but we're going to talk about these different technologies, these different careers, show how they help this community, this particular animal. So we're going to show how those academic skills are used in these technologies. So, for instance, we're talking about prosthetics that are cast in the context of English, math, social studies, and science. So we might have, about debating amputees with prosthetics should complete in sporting events like the Paralympics that just completed this week. This is really about constructing an appropriate argument in the form of a paragraph. So it actually is an English lesson on paragraph construction. We have lessons on the history of prosthetics. Of course, we always tie these back to the science and math skills. So in this particular lesson, we're going to talk about the beneficial limb. We say in line one, you need to consider the amount of weight and must care how strong does it need to be. You need to understand something about simple machines. So if we will introduce concepts like the 6 machines. We will take a brief review of that because the student may not have actually had this in class already. As an example of an inclined plane, cycle tire is an example of a wheel and axle, and you sort of cement these concepts in the student's mind before we go forward. A crowbar example of a lever. So we take the simple form, or simple prosthetic form. We compare what machine we would compare that to. We would compare that to a lever. Introduce the concept of your elbow like a fulcrum. The lever around this fulcrum to exert some type of force or pressure. Again, force is applied from the fulcrum. We get that as a simple mathematical equation. And then we're asking questions. So that weight hand was attached a certain distance from your elbow joint. Where does this muscle have to pull to lift this weight? Quantitative examples, and now how you can see how we're tying in math concepts. So going back to tying in math at this point, and the student answers several different problems or questions. So incorrectly on the first attempt, we'll give them some corrective feedback. We will give them a second attempt. If they're correct within these first 2 attempts, their score on the mission will go up. But under this, we're keeping track of the student's answers to these various different. We're able to compile an analytic report for the student that the teacher sees. But what the student sees is they score on the mission, and they can see, for instance, in their class on the dolphin rescue mission, they'll have a leaderboard, and as a student in Boynton. So how that I am at the lead of this mission in my class. But it's able to do individual lessons. So although we have all different, those are missions are ready for use as the students log in. It's actually assign individual lessons or topics or careers as they go forward through this. And then as a teacher, from the perspective, then you're able to pull a number of different reports. So you might see, and then these are not real students, but you might see in my class, this class has completed 82 lessons in a little over 21 hours. I can see which students have been most active, which is not active. I can get class averages or individual scores on missions on the different technologies or individual lessons. So information, but not only can I track this information for us, but also for classes. Because of the students' performance on each individual question, we can look at their performance in terms of individual lessons, but individual skill objectives. So through these reports, we actually see which skills the students are doing, which different standards the class may be having an issue with. So there's a lot of information you can actually pull out of the system and use, tie this back to not only the different science concepts you may be studying in science classroom, but different careers you're studying, relate to those projects and your project-based learning, different academic skills as well.
And this is really powerful. I mean, this is one of the things that a lot of teachers love this in Tennessee, because they are actually able to see where their students are struggling from looking at this report. There's very little that actually they get as feedback. And so they can look at that report and see where their students are struggling and then really inform their own instruction going forward. So it's pretty exciting to see different ways that teachers have been using it. And I think we're going to hear from Brandy in a again, you know, besides the interactive missions that are online, we did some simple project-based learning. We call them kitchen sinks, because they basically involve things that you might have in your kitchen or in your doors, in your desk at school, rulers, pennies, that sort of thing. But to really bring home some of the points that are missed in our system, we have 4 different activities. Some involve some writing, presenting, maybe some calculation types of things, and then also some building of things. So that kind of it gives another resource. Every mission comes along with a teacher guide that shows you what is going to happen in that mission, what are the different kinds of standards that are covered, and maybe some recommended outside resources, videos, and things like that you might want to use in conjunction with it. And then besides having these mission challenges, what each one has, we actually have just formed a new partnership with Stratus, the 3D printing company, largest 3D printing company in the world. And we will be rolling out, starting this fall, some new 3D printing modules. I wanted to share that with people because that's going to have another option. If you have 3D printers in your classroom, what do with them? And we have some even little paper crafts that students earn after they finish each lesson that they can actually do. At this point, we would love to invite Brandy Stroker. Brandy was a teacher at one of the schools this last year and is now working with the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network. You doing put it up?
And so I passed it back to you, Rob, if you want to take over the presentation.
Okay. But anyway, Brandy is a former staff at Maxine STEM Academy in West Tennessee, and now she is part of the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network team. Brandy.
Yes, Sheila. I can speak to how I use Learning Blade as the STEM coordinator and as a STEM teacher for the Maxine Smith STEM Academy. Maxine Smith is a middle school serving grades 6 through 8, and we utilize Learning Blade in a couple of different ways. The STEM is really so versatile that it lends itself to many different ways of implementation. Our school was unique in that we were a Core 5 school, which means every student took an actual STEM class every day as a part of their core classes. And this allowed us to use Learning Blade in STEM class as appropriate. For example, our first quarter of the year focused on alternative green energy. So I was able to use the Learning Blade energy mission that we saw just a little earlier during that quarter. Students explored the career exploration modules in class on their devices and completed the hands-on activities that we saw just a moment ago that accompanied the missions. Students constructed windmills from recyclable materials, and they completed the energy audit for our school building, which gave them a real-world application in addition to the career exploration. We Blade was in our experiential learning lab time. schedule built an extra hour each Thursday afternoon to provide extended time to work on our quarterly STEM projects through a rotating schedule. And one of those was exploring different STEM careers through Learning Blade. Each week, students would rotate, and as the coordinator, I would assign each grade level a different mission that aligned to our school's core project theme. It was well in that we were able to choose what topics students explored to ensure the work that they were doing was meaningful and it aligned with our school goals. Having the standards-based assessment reports readily available also helped us document how our school was supporting our district's comprehensive literacy improvement plan, which was really helpful for my principal, and I think she even included that in the school improvement plan. So learning helped us achieve several school STEM and literacy goals at the same time. Favorite mission was actually the Haiti orphanage mission. I really felt seeing students solve that real-world problem helped them recognize the impact that they can have on society, and all very creative in their approach. All of the designs were so unique, and I think that's what I liked most about it. I hope this perspective was helpful.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Brandy. It was great to get the perspective of someone who's implemented it within a school for sure.
Thank you.
Give a shout out to some of our sort of partners and supporters across the country who have helped us continue to expand Learning Blade. And Mike, that's our presentation. I know you wanted some time for questions, and happy to entertain some.
The overview, I really appreciate details on how it's been implemented in the States, how you guys have been developing everything, how the program works, and really what it looks like in practice, and some input from how school has used is really helpful to get all those different perspectives. I invite everyone, to type in a question in the chat box if you want, or also to unmute yourself, or if you're having problems with that, feel free to raise your hand or just let us know. I put *6 to mute and unmute. But, one of the things I was curious about is, given the push, and to be across state and find the partners to work with in different regions, what you guys look for as an organization when you're trying to find states that you think have the capacity to implement or to bring it to a region?
Question, and appropriate with the STEMx group. So really that does make the most sense for us. I mean, we are a small educational technology company here in Chattanooga, and it's not really our goal to go in and have a big staff in each state. It's more to partner with the organizations like the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network, and Arkansas partner is the Arkansas Public School Resource Center, which those organizations have sort of the relationships and networks across the state to help make something like this effective. We're very good at creating these tools. We're very good at providing the professional development and sort of the support for expansion, but I think using that combined relationship with the feeding position of those organizations has made us pretty powerful. And so we actually have a couple more states where we have created now these new relationships and are looking to scale and, looking for the right partners to make sure that we can effectively deliver the tools to the students, to the schools, as we demonstrated.
Yeah. And Wes, I'm curious from your side, how you've been able to, within the state, kind of support the expansion from, the TSN side, and kind of what that's meant from perspective as someone who manages the network.
Yeah, when you think about who our partners network and how our reach across the state is structured, it's very, very important to keep in mind the business partners have been at the table with us since day one. And so when I think about, for instance, a state-level chamber of commerce, when I give them a tool like this and use a perspective like Brandy's or some students that have completed it themselves, how it changed their mindsets about future careers, perhaps in advanced manufacturing, that's a growing field in our state, or the orphanage that Brandy just talked about, different skills that they're learning about and how those track to actual pathways in our state. It's been really easy to bring business partners to this project. In cases, there's business partners that are actually using this tool to mentor kids in STEM. That's pretty good, and that's, innovation is in our network name, so that's a big plus for us. But I think that, this has been integrated so much into our network that all of our staff talk about it in every meeting we're in, and every time we pitch to a new partner about a partnership, this is a piece of it. So I think the true, genuine, unique connections to the workspace really play well with the business community, and strengthens our position as the authority for STEM in the state.
Again, to see if anyone's trying to get in with a question. We need to see if anyone else. Ooh, sorry.
This is Rob. I'll offer one that a little bit aside, Shane, but I'm a little curious how you functionally do the standards matching for each of the different lessons. That seems to me like a Herculean task. How do you break that down into?
Yeah, so it's pretty complicated, obviously, as you recognize. And we didn't really have enough time to show you the whole breadth of that piece. It really worked when we were developing the system to actually develop problems that were tied to all the academic standards. So it was the grassroots, ground level that we started that. And we have actually engaged with a very well-known national organization called EdGate, which helps companies like this do alignments around what they have developed against the standards. And so they actually worked with us to create that standard element, and we redo that every single year, so we're very current with our standards and what each of the lessons addresses. If you want to add anything else to that.
And this is one of the interesting things, because when you really get into our curriculum, we're very deliberate about academic standards, and that because our goal was not as a STEM curriculum to take time only from the STEM classroom, but to make something that would be useful in any classroom, English or social studies or math, and that we had to be very and forming some of our lessons that were obviously questions or something about history. So when you go through those, you realize we're doing something larger than just talking about science. We were able to make the correlation to the individual standards because we were very deliberate to include questions.
And let's be clear, these are linked to the EA and the math standards. So we're not trying to be a science curriculum. We're trying to be a curriculum, or not even a curriculum, but a supplemental tool that can be used across interdisciplinary.
That's right. We are a supplement. We're not a replacement for any other primary curriculum.
That's great. And so each one of the adventures is the right word, but the foci that you guys have picked are really interesting as far as the types of careers and the types of challenges. I'm curious how you go about identifying what topics will be brought up or what careers will be included, and what you see in the future as far as development.
That's a good question. So actually, when we launched Learning Blade, we only had 10 missions. We have 12, and we've only since about 2.5 years. So that tells you right there, that we're the great part about our company, I would say, even though it is that we continue to develop and improve the product as we go forward. And so as we did launch it, we worked initially with a robust board of very well-known national experts, not only in STEM, but in education and industry all across the country, to help us actually design the first 10 missions and what should those subjects be, what should be the high-demand careers, looking at with the net technology, the ONET information, looking at that and then creating the first 10 missions. Subsequently, the two missions, which are lightweight metals, which was actually supported by the Department of Defense grant, because they're implementing a lightweight metals project across the states, and they really wanted a way to communicate to students, as Wes mentioned earlier, making sure that students know what these careers are at an earlier age so that employers are happier with the sort of course pipeline. They wanted a mission in Learning Blade, so they funded a lightweight metal mission. And then, as I mentioned more recently, Tata Consultancy, which is a large national company in IT, wants to really communicate more to students about computer science careers. And so that's our new computer science mission. So we have 2 or 3 others who have approached us about some newer missions, maybe in logistics or some other topics, but we're continuing to invent and innovate as we expand Learning Blade, not only in its usage, but also in the system, that the mission challenges that we showed you, those are new too from when we started. So.
Someone else is jumping in. Do you see...
Answering all the questions, or we put everybody to sleep?
Well, sometimes, too, it's just clumsy for folks to get in these questions, so I know it can be difficult from the other users. But I'm curious, too, one thing we touched on with the presentation were the rural communities, and I'm wondering if you've seen rural communities implementing this in different ways, using different tracks within Learning Blade, or have had different types of roadblocks in actually picking it up and making it useful for them.
I think there's been a real roadblock for rural communities. I think it's seen as a blessing because there are so many communities where the teachers don't have the experience, and not only teachers, but the real gap that we're filling is that parents don't have experience to show their children. Their communities may not have that variety either. So rural communities, able to fill a little bit of a gap in knowledge for the students because the parents or the communities or the teachers have that experience in their own community to show.
Well, and I will also say, a very moving story, quite frankly, that was in Arkansas, where a special needs student was by their teacher, as we were trying to validate launching Learning Blade statewide, they did some research, and the teacher asked her student who was a special needs student about, Learning Blade or whatever, and what was going on in school. And the kid told her that it was the first time ever he saw something that he could actually do as a career. About he'd ever seen anything in school that he thought he could do as a career. So that was very moving, not only from a perspective of what are we doing for the population, but really can we reach some of these harder to reach skills. And we have other stories like that at Tennessee, at the Tennessee STEM Innovation Network Conference. Another teacher got up and said there was a kid that was kind of a quiet kid, and he was really not learning way. So everybody wanted to be on his team, and now all of a sudden he's a popular kid in class. So just some great stories, coincidentally around this. But I think what Dane's talking about is, the ability to reach more students. We're not the be-all, end-all. There are a lot of great things that are out there, but, are a very cost-effective solution. The cost gets very minimal for a school to have this license and have the ability to reach all their students with some type of STEM input and augmenting it with your other project-based learning, other types of things that you do.
I think it's really useful for online. I mean, we want project-based learning that's in the school, that's actually physical and in that location, and suggestions for that. But the ability to have an online supplement is really these days very useful for the rural communities, and we've had an issue reaching some visible places. We've had in Africa using this. We've had a place in South Korea using this. And places in the rural communities, obviously, here in the U.S. using that. So it's been great.
Just the versatility of how this has worked for us in Tennessee is just that, I hear a lot of times a lot of schools want to start doing STEM. They have no idea where to start. Being kind of prepackaged and the quality being vetted and the missions having real-world connections, this is a great tool to point them to and say, well, you can start here. You can use this in your middle school classrooms, and it really ties to the real world. And if this is what they're doing, at least they're raising awareness with their kids for STEM careers. But again, it's a starting point, right? And it's a supplemental. It's very versatile, so every school uses it a little bit differently, and I think that's why it's worked so well in both urban and rural districts in Tennessee.
I want to just kind of weigh in a little bit, but check in. What are some of the plans that you're looking at for continuing to build the evidence around Learning Blade? What are you going to study next?
Survey.
Yeah, we are increasing the breadth of our survey data collection, and in fact, mentioning that we are going to be, surveys have been done sort of online, or not really online, with SurveyMonkey, but not tied to our particular platform. We have the ability to have teachers at their class so that the classes will be directed automatically when the student walks into Learning Blade to take surveys. Using the Learning Blade material. So we're going to expand collection of data. We're also collecting survey data on the effectiveness of our professional development. Going very well. Actually, we're doing that in Arkansas the last couple of weeks. And
We do have a PhD candidate here in Tennessee who is doing her research around Learning Blade and its effectiveness. So they are both engineers by training, by the way, STEM people ourselves. So we believe in data. We want to continue. We work very closely with our state partners, with the Tennessee Network and AP, to make sure we are tracking the data, because we do want to have impact.
Great to know about, since so many of the makers and funding being made now are really related to whether there is evidence around a program and what that evidence says. So it's great to hear your continued commitment there, and we look forward to checking in with you about how that goes and hopefully providing updates to the STEMx family. And so, we have about 5 minutes left, so before I sum up, if folks are interested in getting more information about Learning Blade, where would the best place to go be?
I don't know if Rob's up.
Yeah, pull it right up.
Okay. On that screen, pretty simple. We did a very quick demo for you today. Normally we do about 45 minutes just for our presentation, not these other questions and things. So we do that for any group that would like to, and we can also do with a free demo account that you can round in the system and get a chance to see it. And it's very simple. If you can either go to the website at learningblade.com, or you can email us at info@learningblade.com, and we could get you whatever you would like. We'd love to, chat with you, any on the phone that I know we are already in conversation with, but we'd love to continue the conversation in any way that seems appropriate. Again, thank you so much to Michael for your leadership with STEMx and all the work. We actually are friends with a lot of STEMx leaders, and we really getting to be with you guys and look forward to hopefully being with you in December. And, thank you to Rob and Amy and the whole team at Battelle for all that you do. And then, of course, a big thank you to Wes Hall. Our partnership here with PSIN is nothing short of spectacular. We've been a great team, even though he is a Tennessee fan and I'm a Florida Gator, and we're playing this weekend. Besides that, we love each other.
No, and I really appreciate Dane and Sheila and Brandy and Wes taking the time to share information about Learning Blade with the network. And I look forward to continuing this conversation, like you're saying, at our December meeting with our full set of STEMx partners. And, for those of you who have been online for this, I appreciate you attending again. And we're looking forward to next month. We actually have 2 webinars going on. One is around implementation of ESSA and where STEM fits within that, and how states are rolling out their plans. webinar is co-hosted by NSTA, the STEM Ed Coalition, as our partner, Washington STEM. For information on that, you can go to the NSTA website or email me directly at feder@patel.org. Also, the director of your statewide network will have information, and they can provide it to you directly. In addition, we'll also have the DC STEM Education Network on for our official STEMx monthly webinar. They'll be talking about their survey and the application of their survey to identify and share where STEM education is happening within their communities within DC, and talk about also, how that survey was used to assess the capacity and interest of different stakeholders within DC to supporting STEM education. So I hope that the webinar will be informative and helping you think about the capacity within your own networks, within your own states, and within your own regions. So we're looking forward to connecting with you again next month. I'd love to just say, have a great day, and we appreciate so many folks being part of this effort.